So he basically talked about how FDR died. FDR died.
He did die.
Yeah.
In a submarine accident.
No, he definitely didn't because he was in a wheelchair. So he definitely didn't die.
So what happened was that they got
never did.
another guy over there because after this death, he was always seen with his dog. After this, he was never seen with his dog.
So did they use prosthetics?
And then he signed the basically agreement for World War II, and then he dies right after
What was
that.
the agreement?
That hey, let's all get along.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Talking about Yalta?
Yeah, whatever it is. I didn't get that detail.
Well,
but that's the
You
point.
gotta get a little detailed.
No, I'm just telling you, Brian.
That was bad. That was a bad story.
No, that's a great real story. That was some inside scoop.
Terrible
That was
story.
an inside scoop. I gave you guys the
It
inside
was
scoop.
a thing where they all got together and they signed the thing, that thing.
When people ask, is everything a conspiracy? The answer is yes.
Who and what is controlling everything and why? They practice sorcery. I can't argue against magic.
I don't know what it is that we live on, but I believe it's a realm. This realm that we live in is the lowest level of heaven, highest level of hell.
Chicken snake gods and the Anunnaki and sorcery. If Sam says the chicken snake god is running everything, I'm literally in the world of crazy. I'm winning.
You're losing. Conspiracy Social Club, aka Deep Waters. Yeah, we live?
Yeah.
Guys, welcome. Oh,
Oh my.
that's a sign, bro.
Guys, Dylan's computer just toppled over.
Highway to the danger
zone. Touchy subject.
Yes, we're in it. Anyways, Brian,
Dylan,
I don't know what you're doing. I don't
Just
know
go
what.
ahead.
I don't know what you're doing. What did you do this weekend that the equipment gods, the electronic equipment gods, are mad at you? Unbelievable, bro.
Hey, it's not gonna stay.
It's not gonna
broke.
stay, dude.
It broke.
No, whoa.
Hey,
Okay.
Sam,
Yeah.
we live in a surveillance state, and we're always on camera. And technology has made it impossible to hide anything, to have any privacy.
Yeah, that's why I put my stuff all out.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm a weirdo.
Right, but
I like
do you
weird
see
shit.
how it happened where no one really objected? It's like this is my favorite analogy for life. When you put a frog in boiling water, it jumps out of it. If you put a frog in water that's temperature, warm, room temperature,
Yeah.
and you slowly raise
Yeah.
the heat, it'll die. It
Yeah.
won't get out. And I feel that way about everything that's going on with technology. All of us
Okay.
have lost our privacy without even realizing.
All right.
You're always on camera.
Yeah.
That was a function of trying to stay safe and keep the world safe from
Right.
terrorism.
Yeah.
It's part of the war, quote unquote, on terrorism.
Yeah.
Remember the war on drugs?
Problem, reaction,
Yes.
solution.
Yes. And always the reaction, whenever you have a problem, can be a bigger enemy to you than the thing that happened, right?
Yes.
Do you think that's a conspiracy, or is that just a part of human life and nature?
What is exactly?
Well, don't you think that is something that human beings have a tendency to do as societies, as groups? So fear. So, oh my God, witches are real.
Right.
Let's burn all these women at the stake.
Right.
The reaction to a superstition, the reaction to a perceived danger that's not really a danger. So Americans, for example, for a long time were terrified of a terrorist attack.
Right.
They weren't terrified about the food they were eating that was killing them slowly.
Right.
Right? They weren't terrified of all the plastics they were ingesting that was probably doing something to their endocrine system, etc. Right? So they weren't doing something about the vast number of chemicals that are always in our household, and we don't know what happens when they're combined to, a developing brain or a child.
Right.
So do you think that how much of that is, let's just take COVID, the overreaction to this virus that people were falling and let's shut down an entire economy and mask up and do all these things. Sometimes the reaction is way worse than what actually happened. Don't you think that's not a conspiracy? Don't you think that's actually just human nature? And
No.
That's weird? No.
No, I don't, Brian, because what you don't want to ever come to grips with
is that the problem is manufactured by the people who want to give you the solution. So they create the problem so that they can be the solution. They create the problem, they create the overreaction to the problem, and then they step in with the solution. That is my issue.
It could
so,
be,
Brian, what you
both,
need to
right?
ask yourself,
Yeah.
okay, what you need to ask yourself is, why were laws specific to COVID-19 passed before the first outbreak happened?
My answer to that is, it can be both of what you just said. My answer is there's always been people who are trying to take measures against a pandemic, right?
Right, but a specific one, Brian. Specific COVID-19.
Well, it was SARS was something that happened. So SARS was an airborne virus as well. So I think that we know that there are certain airborne viruses that either mutate from animals to people,
Right.
or could be manufactured that are
Right.
dangerous. So people will there are government agencies whose responsibility is to prepare for those things. I think that here's what I would say. I would say that things happen in life, crises happen, whatever it is. There's always something that's going to happen that you can't foresee, right?
Yes.
Could be a lot of things. It is, human beings have different ideas about how to behave in the world, and they clash. People have different ideas of who God is, and that clashes. People have different ideas of how to control people, and everything else. All these things clash. I think what happens is something bad happens, and then the bad actors take advantage of it.
Okay.
That's the first thing. They take advantage of it. They go, oh, I see that there's money here.
Okay.
So I do think I've been naive about the United States and the amount of money that is in war, and how the United States will foment chaos so that our munitions companies.
So that's an interesting
and weapons-
statement you said right there.
I
Say
do think
ferment,
I do
promote.
believe that
What was the word you used?
I do believe that there is an incentive.
Okay.
It might be overt, it might be subliminal.
Okay.
There is an incentive for countries like the United States,
Okay.
and maybe especially the United
Okay.
States, to create
Or Bank of England. Go.
wars
Right.
or conflict, or sow confusion and chaos.
So you're saying, what you're saying is
Yeah.
that they could come in and with an invisible hand create a conflict in which they could cash in on? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Which is what I've been saying the last 3 years.
Yes.
Okay,
You
that
can
is
ring
what
the
I've
bell.
been saying for the last 3 years.
can ring the bell.
And like, what you have to understand is like, I could almost understand that. You could get me to believe that all this is happening naturally if the people who at the top, who are the ones reacting to this, always get more money, more power every time. If it ever went the other way, it might be okay. This guy isn't.
I would say massive swaths of the economy benefit in America from the death of people overseas. And I'm sorry to say that, but watch this. So in Iraq and Afghanistan, they wanted volleyball courts for the soldiers, and they wanted sand volleyball. Now, they were in Iraq and they were in Afghanistan. I wonder if there's any sand there. But no, there was a company in the United States that could make a lot of money bagging and sending sand to the different Air Force bases, the different bases in general.
Yes.
So here's another thing. You have a non-governmental organization, you have a government organization, your burn rate's very important. So if you have money to open an electrical plant or a water treatment facility, even if they don't need it, you have to spend that money so that you can get more money.
Right.
So now your job depends on your burn rate.
Okay.
Your job.
So this is an interesting thing, because what you're getting into is crony capitalism, right? That's what it is.
I might be getting more into the idea that the military-industrial complex is so real, and it supports such a massive amount of our economy, that politicians are never going to say to their constituents, hey, we don't need this aircraft carrier.
Right, for
hey,
sure.
we don't need these planes. Because literally a huge swath of my voting block depends on that job.
Right.
So if we can't make an aircraft carrier when we don't need an aircraft carrier, we need threats out there. So
Which
Ukraine,
is my whole theory
yes.
on why North Korea is a CIA PSYOP puppet. Okay. So, you get the little Cabbage Patch.
Are you gonna you going to say anything?
What?
Well, I would say North Korea is a very convenient pawn for everyone.
Hey, my work here is done.
Yeah.
Hitchhike, bomb, out of town, dude.
And I do
On
understand.
to the next
I do
close-minded
understand
person.
someone like yourself saying, "I don't trust this Ukraine situation. You're giving him $130 billion worth of aid. That's great for our economy because it is. That aid is actually, hey, American company, can you make all this stuff so we can send it over there? Now, how much of that aid that we send, whether it's whatever it might be, water treatment kits, whether it's munitions, how much of that aid goes to the front lines?
Can I check your head and neck for any kind of like
So weird.
insursions where they did the reprogramming?
Well, I've been talking to some people.
Oh, I like that. You've been talking to some people for a couple years now.
Yeah, but I've been talking to people that know better.
Okay.
People that are
okay.
involved in
Here we are. There we are.
In foreign policy.
Right. Okay. So
And I
So,
have
Bryan,
to say it was very eye-opening.
let's go back a couple moments back where you were talking about basic military contracts, right? Which is like the whole joke, let's say, about, you remember in Brewster's Millions, which I'm dating myself, which was a great Richard Pryor movie. He's going to run for mayor. He doesn't really want to, but he's got to burn all this money. So he runs for mayor and he doesn't want to. And then you had the two corrupt guys who were running, which is, this whole thing about, Chicago people, all the corruption in politics forever. And the reason why it's so corrupt is because these fighting groups, these organizations, whether they're mob or political activist groups or whatever, they want their guy in the seat of the mayor, right? That's what they want. Why do they want their guy in? Because that's the guy that gives out the contracts.
That's right.
Okay, Schmoley was getting the contract to build all the schools. Guess what? My guy isn't Schmoley. My guy's is Momo, right? Momo's
Which is why
getting
you
it.
say there's no difference between R's and D's.
Well, but what I'm saying is like when now I'm gonna see how far I can push this new this new program, Bryan Callen, right? I'm gonna see how far we can push it. Would you say there's an incentive to control who gets in to the presidency?
Yes.
Not just not
just presidency, also Congress.
right, but not even just like from in terms of a lobbying group, but like in terms of like whose crime organization is running that seat. Right. So, I recently watched Bill Maher. He had, I forget who he had on, but they were having the big argument about election fraud. And, he's like, Trump lost. Okay. But he's totally open-minded to the idea that maybe Al Gore really won and that Nixon really won, which is a hilarious election that nobody really talks about, like how much the mob was involved in the election so the question to you is now, new Bryan Callen, new program Bryan Callen, do you think it's possible that people position themselves to get certain people into the presidency?
Yes.
Whoa, this might be the end of the show. We're just agreeing on everything.
But the one thing you're not taking into account is that there's also an opposition that wants to get their side in for other reasons.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's like if we get into like any presidency, when we kind of talk about, let's not even get to Biden versus Trump, because I don't even know if new Bryan Callen can be open-minded to that. But we can go back to Hillary versus Bernie Sanders, when it was so obvious based on sheer eyeballs.
Yeah,
right?
that's more politics where delegates go, he's never going to win. Let's get Hillary in. I expect. Like, I expect that corruption in politics. Right. I don't worry about that. I think what I worry about is when just like the surveillance state, where we're always on camera and we're all normal. We're like these kids.
Oh, I'm not normal.
Well, no, I'm saying
so weird, bro.
These kids have grown up.
I got the Lord now.
My children are going to grow up with the fact that Big Brother has all your biometrics and that they see you, that you are on camera 24/7, no matter what, including in your own house, including from your Ring camera, and that the government is going to be able to galvanize all that data into one camera. There's the big eye in the sky. That is a fact that is happening, and all of us are totally fine with it. And we don't think about it as long as we have plenty of food, as long as I got my Netflix, as long as I'm all placated and relaxed. Now,
Didn't I say that?
By the same token, the military-industrial complex is the same thing where all of us are eating from a trough and we're not realizing or thinking about where our food is coming from. And that is a collective unconsciousness. So I have to say that, Sam, as crazy as you fucking are, you're morally on the side of right.
Thank you.
Now, I know I'm a little fucked up right now because I had some eye-opening.
No, it's just it's kind of a half-measure way of saying that he's correct, that he's morally right.
Yeah, you just can't go full
right.
in.
Well, Sam goes like this. Sam goes, stop. I don't believe this narrative. Hold on. We've been in war for 23 years. How's it going for the Afghanis? How's it going for the Iraqis? How's it going for the Africans? How's it going for this? How's it going for that?
Right.
Stop.
Palestinians.
All of that.
Oh, man, we are.
100%. 100%
This
the
new guy.
100% the Palestinians.
This new guy.
100%. So, I think it's hard not to be cynical.
What's my job here now?
But he blames the Jews for everything.
I do not.
Well, no, I would say that. So I have another thought for you. A swami. I've been reading the Vedanta,
Okay, I like that.
and I get more and more spiritual. And as I read the Bible and as I read Vedanta, I realize that nothing is new under the sun.
Yep.
And that the world is always going to be opposites, polar opposites.
Yep.
Right. And there's good forces and bad forces.
Yes.
And so this Swami broke the world up into two different kinds of people. One is the passive good and the aggressive good, and the passive bad and the aggressive bad. Let me tell you what it is. So passive good is the person who says, I love everything. I think killing all of human life is bad. So when it comes to Israel and Hamas, I think that, I'm pro keeping babies alive. And that's passive because I don't want to deal with it. I just want everybody to be kumbaya. Passive good, that would be passive good.
Okay.
Aggressive good is wait, hold on. I got to do the work here to see what's actually true and what's not.
I love
what's
this
really
new guy.
right and
I
what's
love you.
really wrong, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a position that might be super unpopular, that might put me on the cross, figuratively.
Bryan Callen finally gets Sam Tripoli.
Okay. And this is beautiful because then you see passive bad, passive good, aggressive good. Passive bad is, I don't give a fuck. I'm a nihilist. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
As long as I got mine.
Yeah.
I got mine.
Yeah.
I'm good. As long as I got plenty of food.
Well, you
as long as I can amass my own, I can back and build a wall. I got my library of guns. I got access to my well. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Aggressive bad now are the people that are very good at structuring, manipulating, organizing the world so that they triumph over the destruction and chaos of other people.
I love
And the
this.
problem with aggressive bad is that it takes a very
They're
small
aggressively
group.
bad.
It takes a very small group and they are incredibly powerful and they can overpower the aggressive good. But there's one caveat to it. One aggressive good person can change the world. One aggressive good person who keeps saying this is wrong and stands up to the aggressive bad. You're going to lose. You're always going to lose. There's always going to be bad actors who make money off of the death and destruction of innocent people.
Yep.
There's a lot of money in killing.
Yep.
And there are people that genuinely do structure the world so that they and theirs can make a maximum amount of money off of human suffering. They are artists of suffering, and they make billions of dollars
But let me ask you something. When you know that they print the money, right, and they have all the power.
So printing the money is not as. So printing the money again is a symptom.
But you keep bringing you bring up something interesting. What if the real goal is to feed off that suffering? That that they're basically energy vampires at this point, because you print all the money. They're like, it's like, oh my God, it's just like, so this whole thing right now is like all these woke companies are begging the Fed to bail them out because they have losses to the tune of like $4 trillion because they did all this woke shit and it just didn't work. And they're like, you told us to do this. We lost all this money. Can you clean up our books? And what the Fed could do is like, yeah, here's $1 trillion. They could just print it out of nowhere.
So here's what I would say. And maybe I'm 56. And maybe I'm going through this because all I do is read about spirituality and religion and think about it. I think that the world doesn't get better when you are a quote-unquote good person protecting good people and innocent people and you're killing bad guys. The world doesn't get better because there might be no such thing. In other words, I know very good people, fucking beautiful human beings that have killed a lot of people because they were killing quote-unquote terrorists. They were killing people that were killing innocent people. But you have to understand that one man's hero is another man's terrorist, right?
Yep.
We can go through this.
One man's
hero is another man's villain.
Yeah.
Okay? And so, without getting into that, one of the things that religious people, one of the things, whether it's Vedanta, whether it's Hindu sages, whether it's Buddhist sages, whether it's a Catholic priest, is what is religion? Religion, I'm going to define it for you. It comes from the Latin re, which is back, and ligar, which is origin. And religion is that which connects you back to the origin. It connects you back to what? Your true self, your universal self, your ultimate self. The Catholics, the Christians call it a soul, and the Hindus call it Atman. They call it probably Brahma, Krishna. They call it the self. So what happens is you get lost. You're born into a body. You're born into a mind. You're born into an intellect. And the folds of your mind, the folds of your body, the folds of your intellect end up distracting you from who you originally were. Okay? And so that's why every religion, no matter whether it's Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, all religions, the Vedanta, the Upanishads, all of them preach the renunciation of pleasures of the flesh, pleasures of the eye, pleasures of the ear, pleasures of the mouth.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Right? Why?
Pleasure of the mouth?
Because until they eat amazing food, being a glutton.
Okay, that's what you're talking
surrounding yourself with people to tell you only the things you want to hear. King Solomon had 700 wives. God said, you can't take all those wives. And he had 600 concubines. What a blast. But at the end of the day, he fell off the path. So every story, why? Because all of those, even knowledge, which satisfies your intellectual curiosity, takes you away. So how much knowledge, how much information do you want? You can keep filling your brain with information, but it distracts you from a communion with your own soul, a communion with your original self, which sometimes takes literally quiet contemplation, reflection, humble reflection on the fact that we are all connected, on the fact that your original self might be. And that's where religion comes from. And until we get to that, we'll always have hell on earth.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
That was a long dissertation, but it's what I've been thinking about that I haven't articulated.
I love it, dude. I think it's great. I think you're
really beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, it was a great place where you are, and it's just like once you start to see it, Bryan, you'll understand it as it happens in real time. That's why, like, I can make a statement very early into any kind of high impact event and be like, this stinks to me. I've seen this before. And then everyone emotionally reacts to me and says all this crazy stuff. And then over time, they just start to go, okay. But they don't want to say anything because their egos won't allow them to admit they're wrong. I think through recovery for me is the biggest thing in recovery is on a daily basis, you look back and see where maybe you weren't right. Maybe you did some things that weren't right, and you have to make amends for those things instantly. Like I say, in recovery, we learn to become first responders to our own problems.
It's great.
We're not waiting for anyone to come and save us.
Yeah, because there's a saying, you get what you deserve, not what you want.
Right.
And karma's cause and effect.
And I know, dude, that like through my life, like 1 second's here, 1 second. Like, this is the realm of consequences. This is the battle between the one God and this kind of kingdom ran by dark entities. And this is the battle between that, and it's up and down. And, you know, it's just a very spiritual war that we're in. And like, I look at it more from spirituality than I do money, gold, power, because
But we're not taught that, are we? Like, you and I had to come to that on our own. Like, we are not taught in this country, in the West. We're just not taught about getting back to. I know that Christianity, like, that's one of the things I respect about the notion of the soul, but it's not articulated enough. Getting to a point where you have communion with the best side of yourself has to be fostered. It has to be placed as a priority when you're young. I never had that. The priorities when I was growing up was to be a successful, productive man who could take care of a family. Like, what mattered was the ambition of getting in a position where I had power and money, okay? And I was really good at something. There wasn't the idea that all of that stuff has to take second place to purifying and getting back to who you originally were. If you think about it, you can always, whether you're a Christian or a Buddhist, you can always observe. There is an observer. There is someone who is watching you experience all these things. That's what they talk about when they talk about the original self. And that's what, so if you read Uncle Tom's Cabin, which I recommend to everybody, it was really one of the things that created outrage at the slave trade. Mary Todd, what was her name? Can you, Harriet Beecher Stowe. Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote this book about the horrors of slavery. She'd never met a slave. She'd never been down to the South, but she took it from stories that she had heard from slaves who escaped from the South to the North. And she wrote a book. And man, the Uncle Tom he's a profoundly religious Christian man. And he's a black slave. And he's sold to a terrible slave owner when the plantation went out of business, down south, down in the deep South, working the sugar cane and shit. And he comes to a point where no matter what you could do to him, no matter what you did to him, you couldn't touch his soul. You couldn't touch that pure core
So
of who he was.
interesting,
And
dude.
it's exactly what the Hindus talk about. So every religion, if you get into it and you really contemplate and you sit alone, they're all coming back to this thing called.
You know, it's so interesting. I
self.
just did a Union of the Unwanted yesterday, and there's a little bit of doom and gloom about what the future is, and it's so interesting because, like, I'm just at this place where it's like sounds like what you described to this Uncle Tom was at, where it's just like, I think they're gonna do all this shit, and spiritually I'm gonna be above it, and I'm not gonna allow it to affect me. Maybe, and I think it's very sad. I think if war comes to the United States, that's a sign that the structure of power is in jeopardy, because they're using our country as the Federal Reserve that funds the entire military operation, and our sons and daughters, for the most part, are the stormtroopers for the military. But what we're now seeing, Brian, is that a lot of these people that are coming here from foreign countries are going to be used as soldiers in the U.S. military. Well, not even so it's like now it's even moving on from even us participating in it.
Well, there's also a kind of a Marxist agenda.
100%.
So if you can get as many people over the
but
border.
real quick, just to go back to what I was saying, is like, I believe that the laws of the universe and that God trumps all that. That's what I believe. Because
I agree.
I just, like, in my life, when I move closer to God, things get back. When I move farther from God, things, and it goes back to this real belief I have that we live in a haunted house. This is a giant haunted house. And that some areas are more haunted than others. And a great example is my life and my family. My great-grandfather lived in the village of Van, which is now in Turkey. It goes back and forth depending on the war, where it is. And that area, for the longest time, has been in great chaos of violence, of war.
Yep.
And my grandfather, who saw the Young Turks Slaughter's entire family said, I got to get the fuck out of here. Where else do we see that? When pro athletes who come from very poor areas suddenly get on the highest stage, what's the first thing they do? They move mom, dad, family out of the from a really haunted area to a not haunted area.
That's right.
And that's just kind of what I think goes on here, man. He's like, we live
Gaza, West Bank.
Yes, these are haunted areas. We talk about this, and like the slaughter of the Palestinians right now is like, I am really at my wit's end with that people aren't seeing what's going on.
They are.
Well, they are. You know, and there's people out there that said things about Palestinians I do not understand.
Well, one of the things that Israelis are talking about, probably the only thing they're talking about, is the fact that this reaction of leveling buildings, and I talked to somebody about that. So when you go to war with somebody like Hamas, the only option is to, I'm saying from a military perspective, you have to level all the buildings. I said, why? And he said, well, because you could never send troops in because they would rig the buildings to fall on you, or they'd have snipers. So what they do, the thing of war is you level the entire area.
Right.
So you can move in on it. And it's a horrible thing about war. And so what you're really rolling over is just the countless bodies.
Well,
and so,
I don't want to get into Israel anymore, but
what I'm trying to say is that the conversation in Israel is this good for Israel in the long run? Because
it's not.
The shit that they're doing.
It's not.
Yeah,
it is isolating them.
That's a huge
Netanyahu
conversation.
in a desire to save himself. So it's like, I don't want to get too much into it, but like I know there's a lot of people out there, and probably people who see my Twitter, and they probably think I'm anti-Jewish. I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart. Everything I'm doing right now is for Jews. Not just Palestinian. I'm for Palestinians. It is for Jews. I am telling you right now, what I am doing right now is for Jews, because my girlfriend's Jewish, her family's Jewish. I love them all very much. And I know that 99% of the people out there are fucking wonderful people. But just like every one of these Abrahamic religions, there are extremists. And these extremists don't play by the rules that the rest of us play by. And if we don't call them out for what they do, the whole group is going to pay. And the emotional, the generational trauma that has been inflicted on this group over time, done both by actions and through propaganda, has caused people to defend their own. It's my whole bit about, and get ready to beep this, but everybody's retarded, and every group has retards, and the problem is the entire group has to defend these retards and their actions that they take. When in reality, it's like white people. White people have to go, hey, dude, that's not me. That's a crazy ass guy. Yeah, he's white. I'm white. We're not the same people. And that's my opinion right now. What I'm telling you right now is that the actions of these small people are going to make the whole group have to pay. It just is.
Just admit, if you could just admit after that, two things.
Okay, here we go. We're in it.
All I want you to do is we've really reached a beautiful consensus. So now you have to just admit that viruses and nuclear weapons are real.
I will not. Next.
Also admit that NASA does good work and that it is not full of Nazis.
Okay.
And also that we went to the moon.
No.
You're not going to admit anything.
Ever. Bryan, you are so wrong
you're sticking to your conspiracy.
Yes.
Talking
You're
points.
not there yet, Daddy. You will be. No. This Bryan Callen, new program Bryan Callen, he's about 2 years away.
No.
Yeah.
Those are the things I need you to admit.
Brian, you'll never be able to get to the virus thing. That's fine. But the moon thing, you will wake up to.
You don't know anything about viruses, though.
You will.
You don't know viruses. You don't know anything about viruses.
You will. Right? I love this, Bryan, because can we play the video? Oh, our thing isn't working.
Well, stupid Dylan doesn't know how to work a fucking, what is that thing from the 80s?
Yeah, where did you get that? Radio Shack?
Yeah, fuck all this stuff.
Dude, I'm trying so hard right now.
Are you?
Are you, though? Are you?
Are you?
Don't act like you're...
Are you?
It's like you're not... Don't say you're trying so hard. It's annoying.
Real quick, where are you going to be, Bryan? And then tell them about the new fun show you're doing.
This fucking weekend, Indianapolis.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Helium. I will be there bringing heat. The next weekend I'm in Spokane, Washington.
Actually,
Friday.
Indianapolis is good. They were good to me this year.
Yeah.
They were a little weird the first time I went in there.
They were good to you. December 15 and 16, I'm in Spokane, Washington. I have a show, 9 a.m. I'm going live, Instagram Live, with my new show that Sam Tripoli thought up for me.
No.
No, Dylan helped too.
And Dylan-
Dylan helped
Dylan-
too.
No. It's intellectual property theft. is
No,
what's
it's not,
happening.
Wait,
Dylan.
whose
I've been
idea
telling
was
him
it?
to
It
do
was
this
my
forever.
idea.
Okay,
I've been
so-
telling him
Yeah,
to
it
do
was-
this forever.
All right, so
Okay.
I've been telling him.
Dylan Wren.
I'm willing to give Dylan surprise. From day one, I've been telling him
Dylan
to do that.
Wren.
Yeah, my
Okay.
day one was before your
My
day.
day, I'm BC. Okay, I'm
You're
I'm
AD.
BD before Dylan. I was telling him to do
Dylan
that.
and Sam had came up with this idea off my rants called
You should do it on
hypothetical-
YouTube.
Called Hypothetical Danger.
YouTube.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know. I was going to do it Instagram Live.
Do it on YouTube, bro.
YouTube Live?
Yeah, live stream that shit.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling
What's
you.
better? What reaches more people?
You want YouTube,
Okay.
and then you cut up and then you put on your Instagram.
Oh, fuck. Okay. So I'll do it on YouTube.
YouTube, trust me. Trust me,
Let me
dude.
just send that.
No,
to
no, 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 no. So,
Do you want to say what it is? I mean, we're
yeah, okay. So Bryan doesn't know how to promote. Bryan's got a new show
Hold on,
that
let
he's
me just
doing
call
called
Nick.
Hypothetical Danger.
So he doesn't-
What Bryan's gonna do is he's going to, and I have some more suggestions. What
I
are you
wanna
doing
hear-
right now?
I got to make sure he doesn't post what I sent him. Hold on.
Right now?
Yeah, because he might post it.
Okay.
Hey, buddy. Hey, don't post that yet because I want to do it on.
What are you doing, business and during our show? So, anyways, Bryan's going to take you. You're going to
let
ask
me
him
call you back 'cause
hypothetical
I'm not doing the
situations.
podcast. I'll
He's
call
going
you.
to tell you how to survive.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna exactly, and
And I have some ideas for you too. I don't
do?
know why. I have some more
I need
ideas.
the ideas.
There's a website where people ask scenarios. They ask for advice. You could also go through some of those and give your own advice.
I love it.
Really? It starts with a Q, Corania or something like that.
Quora.
Cora. There we go. Yeah,
All right,
Cora.
Quora.
Cora's hilarious.
It is?
So he's got So you could find these someone could read. Anyways, so go check that out. Guess what? Danny's doing his own live show too. Friday, noon Pacific. We will be doing basically the equivalent of a conspiracy call-in show. We will be taking your recorded calls. And if you go to Tinfoil Hat or Broken Sim, and we're going to hear your conspiracies and talk about it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I have some shows coming up. December 12th, I'm at the Comedy Store, another Comedy Chaos. That's going to be going great. Oh, here we go. Then I'm at December 16th. I'm El Monte. Then I'm doing my international tour of Northeast America, and that's Cleveland on the 11th, I believe. Pottstown on the 12th. Those are both with Eddie Bravo. And then I'm doing Pittsburgh by myself on the 13th of January. Then finally, the Comedy Vault. You got to go to the Comedy Vault.
Well, yeah, I've been talking to the guys in Bakersfield about you and I doing a show too.
Yeah, I would love
I'm
to do
talking
that.
them right now.
I would love that.
Yeah.
So that's it. Go to samtripoli.com for all you. And I also want to thank all you guys. We hit our goal, $30,000
Wow.
for the animation and comic books for the Chaos Twins. We have a lot. So what the idea started and what we want to do next is just going to be great. So thank you guys so much for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, dude. So this new Bryan's really great.
It's so crazy because we had a clip of
Yeah,
old Bryan.
old Bryan, which
that I
was
really
nuts, and we
wanted
were-
to
Let me
play.
see it. Let me see it.
I don't know that we need. It's,
No,
I don't know. I
because
like
wanna make
new
sure.
Bryan.
I want to see. I don't misspeak. Let me see what I said.
Yeah, but new Bryan got programmed and has
There's
a new
probably
way
a lot
of
of
looking at the
wisdom
world.
in what I said.
Bryan is a completely different.
Let me see it.
program.
Yeah, this
Let me
is
see
a
it.
different Bryan. Here we go.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. They are rooted in old anti-Semitic tropes, and they're very fucking dangerous. And when you start saying, I'm just asking questions, or that there is a group of people controlling things, please see Invisible Circle of Jews.
Okay.
People get involved.
That's true.
and they don't
Oh my
realize
God, Bryan.
what they are doing
This
is
new
that
Bryan
can
should be
be
discussed with that old Bryan.
for people who don't have such good intentions
and are looking for just someone to say, see, now it's I know it's
I love Ralph.
And
He's
as a
great.
Jew, I can say I
Smart
go
guy.
to the secret meetings once in a while.
Ralph
He's
is great. Him and
I love
Luis
that guy,
Gomez.
and they're all great. But
Dude,
that is true. What I said
No,
about
Brian.
that. There's a lot of
New
this-
Bryan does not believe that.
No, I do
because that
believe
is
that.
the most Karen. When I watch that, I'm like, I do a show with a Karen right now. That is the most Karen thing I've ever heard. That's like you going up to some black person who works at the grocery store, telling them to leave this town because you're tired of drugs and gang violence. That's what you did right there. That's the most Karen moment.
That's definitely a false equivalence.
No, it's not at all.
That's a
That is
false
the
equivalence.
most.
It's a
that is
false,
the
and
most-
we're back.
No, wait.
And we're back.
And Brian just did a cool false equivalent.
No.
100%.
You must
Brian.
understand that a lot of times you're not aware of where your fantasies
No, Brian.
come from.
See,
and a lot of them are put in your brain.
This is why we
And-
shouldn't have
and-
brought that
and-
video
and-
up.
yeah.
Because look, he snapped back.
It's
But
like
a
a
lot of-
We
Manchurian
ruined the new
candidate.
program.
Yeah,
We've
a lot
ruined the
of-
new program.
a lot of the-
O'Brien's back in
the
town.
fantastical way and very simple way you look at the world can a lot of times
we
you're,
did
you're
this.
not
I
aware.
owe everybody
You're just
an
not aware of
apology.
the actual origins.
I owe
and that's
everybody
why,
an apology.
No,
this
no.
is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my
no,
life.
because I as great as you are, you're such a wonderful
Brian,
person.
this is great.
But
So-
you're used sometimes as a tool
No,
by
Brian.
darker
Brian
forces, and you're
cannot
not
come to
aware
grips with
of
it.
the. You're not aware of, just like you don't know where viruses come from. You don't know sometimes where your own thoughts come from.
He knows where they come from. They come from electricity.
No.
there we go.
That's-
Brian, Dylan, thank you.
That is ridiculous.
Dylan gets it.
What we're seeing right now is an identity crisis.
Oh yeah, we have old Brian, new Brian fighting for each other in his fucking
I mean,
56-year-old
No, no, no,
skull.
Yeah.
No.
Who will win?
No, you have to acknowledge that that a lot of conspiracy theories are rooted in these old anti-Semitic tropes.
Well, Brian, a
and-
lot of
and-
that
and
is
a
done
circle.
on purpose.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that
So they
there are a lot
don't
of
actually
those.
look at the power. And there's a lot of people. Brian, all the conspiracy shows that I've been on, literally this is said every time. It's not all Jews. There's no other group that people do that with, by the way. There's no other group.
That's good that they say that. I'm glad.
Right?
It's
That's
important.
great.
Okay? Yeah. It's like you don't understand. Like, we have to say so that people like you just don't find a way to dismiss what we're saying.
Right.
Old Brian, not new Brian. New Brian gets it. New Brian. Welcome to New Brian.
You traffic in blood libel all the time.
Yeah, stop, bro. Stop.
Blood libel.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe we can get...
I just sent you something about Ireland. I would love to hear Brian Callen's thoughts
Yeah,
on.
that's going to be a dicey clip for YouTube, but that's fine. We can play
Okay.
it. No, I'm excited to try to get new Bryan back.
Oh, guys, my podcast with Dr. Miriam Grossman on Off Limits has been so shadow banned, you can't find it. So do me a favor, she talks about Trans Nation. She wrote a book about, how insane, where it comes from, the one person that came up with gender theory and how that caught fire.
Oh,
who
brother, that
person
must.
was.
I mean, dude, I feel. Brian, listen to me. I do a show I do it with my friend
Yeah.
Johnny. It's called Broken Simulation.
Yep.
And then I do a show with you. Obviously, Dylan's on it as well. But I do a show with you, and you're a big name comedian. This show gets less views than the show I do by myself.
I'm getting crushed. I get crushed, and anytime I have one of those people on, I'm talking about like literally, I'll get 3.5 thousand views. So do me a favor, if you get this, can you go and like click on it and watch it?
Links
You'll
in the
learn
show
so much.
description.
Yeah.
Links are-
And
link
by
is in
the
the
way,
show description.
somebody told me Mark Stees, my booker, of my show, Tinfoil Hat. He was telling me that Substack allows you now to upload right to Substack. So, which is interesting because that's a big problem with Patreon. Is like now you have to please two masters.
Yeah.
So something to think about, man.
Yep.
Something to think
Something
about.
to think about.
Well, maybe we can get new Bryan back.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go ahead.
with,
I love New Brian. New Brian.
New
He freaking
Brian.
Oh, this is so interesting, bro. Just so you know, that can we set it up, the clip real quick?
Yeah, of
This
course.
is Joe Biden's daughter, granddaughter.
Spoiler, it isn't, but,
Oh,
It's not?
well, I mean, there's no way.
Sam.
Right?
Hold on.
Sam, you see what I mean, Sam?
What are you saying?
Sam, you tend to like.
Hold on. Can you confirm that's
Sam,
not?
You're always being played by TikTok.
No, you're getting played by
The
TikTok.
Chinese are always playing you.
Can you
Check in with
see
me.
if that's her?
Check
Can
in
you
with
look
me.
up her name?
Yeah, I mean, this is...
That's her. That's his daughter.
Yeah, well, the...
That's not saying it's
Wait,
her
let me see. His
daughter.
granddaughter's gorgeous. Jesus. She is a pretty lady.
Yeah, that's the one he showered with naked. Brian, what are you getting? Eagle eye right here? What did okay? New Bryan, old Bryan. You know.
Yeah, Jekyll meet Hyde. Yeah. Okay.
Were you? That was so funny, Bryan.
Dude, why did I got my chest?
I know. It's so weird. All right, then don't play it if you don't believe it. I thought it was funny.
No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry about the spoiler alert.
No.
It might be her.
You don't know that. You literally.
This may
I'll tell you
be-
if it is. I just looked at her face.
Yeah, this might be her, but just on a bit of a high sodium intake. Maybe she's boozing a little bit.
Yeah, let me see.
You know.
So far, it's not her, but go on.
And I do apologize. The monitor issues are just a little trying right now. So please just give me.
Go ahead and play it.
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds. And I'll just play it right now.
I'm going to do it anyway. My grandfather, Joe Biden, does have a twin. And that twin is currently pretending to be Joe Biden in the White House. So, unfortunately, my grandfather, Joe Biden, passed away about 4 years ago. But, you know, he had built up this really long political career. And my family still wanted to have a bit of power in the U.S. government. So we just replaced Joe with his twin brother.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. So, except for you're not his granddaughter, and that is I don't know who that person is, but we all know that that's not Joe Biden's granddaughter.
How do you know that? Because a wood gypsy told you that?
Well, because I'm looking at her face.
Dude, that
And-
woman that wood gypsy showed you was his daughter.
Listen,
The one who can.
That's true.
Thank you, wood gypsy. You trickster.
That's my bad.
Joe Biden doesn't have a twin.
Dude, this guy just runs through the forest playing a flute of danger.
First of all, you don't play a flute like this.
Yeah.
You play a flute like this.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta
I
know-
could do it like that
How
if
are
I
you not a
want.
flautist? How would you hold it? It would fall.
No.
You're not holding it with your mouth.
No, it's called. That's why we got thumbs.
No, you hold it like this,
Okay.
and then you do this.
Everybody knows that.
Okay.
But yeah, New Bryan, can you talk about how Biden is Bo and how Biden's not Joe?
No, I won't talk about it because none of that matters, and it's all stupid.
Brian, but you know they have masks, right? You know the CIA has masks, right?
CIA,
you know that,
the
right?
CIA has masks.
Okay, and that they put masks on people, and that's why this guy keeps pulling his face mask. You know that, right, Brian?
There might be some mask. There might be some.
See, I
mask
love
stuff going
New
on.
Callan.
Yeah,
New
because
Callan.
Biden apparently does go to Baltimore a lot or somewhere for medical treatment. He's an older man. Everyone close to him knows there's a cognitive issue here. Everybody around him knows that he's just an older. He's very old.
So, Brian, would you say that it is that there is a history of world leaders having doubles and stand-ins and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So,
Castro had
Brian,
it.
could it be that could also happen here in the United States of America?
I don't know how they do those things, but my guess is it would be a big risk.
Why?
Because you'd have to say, well, it's for security issues. I'm not saying that they wouldn't do that. Like if Biden was feeling very sick and they needed somebody just to be there for a presentation, maybe they would do that. But boy, oh boy, are you taking a risk.
Do I have a really fun story for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the Coast Guard was basically what's it called when you joined the local state military? What's that called?
Militia or reserve?
I think it's the National Reserve, right? Is that what it's called?
National Guard.
National Guard. So my friend from high school became a handyman, and he was very well. Before that, he used to sell siding, and he was part of he was the head of a district of. So he'd go around in his territory, and he'd go see the people that bought stuff, and make sure that they were happy with the finished product. So one day he goes and he meets this guy, and it's a much older black man in his 80s or 90s. And he used to work in the Navy. So this guy was much older. So he was actually in the military, and his job was he would serve the executive group of the Navy would come onto this boat, and they would discuss what's going on. And they loved him. They loved this guy. He was a nice guy. He'd serve their food, all that stuff. But he would hear what they were talking about. At some point, they realized that he'd heard everything. So they had to make a decision. Were they going to basically off him because he knew too much, or were they going to basically, incorporate him in what they were doing? So the word is that they basically created a new kind of thing for him, which was the Department of the National Reserves, right? They put him in charge of this thing. This is what the guy was saying. And he was a part of their whole system. So he basically talked about how FDR died. FDR died.
He did die.
Yeah.
In a submarine accident.
Oh, no, he definitely didn't because he was in a wheelchair. So he definitely didn't die.
So what happened was that they got
don't know.
another guy over there because after this death, he was always seen with his dog. After this, he was never seen with his dog.
So did they use prosthetics? 'Cause
And
they
then
didn't have them back then.
then he signed the basically agreement for World War II, and then he dies right after
What was
that.
the agreement?
That hey, let's all get along.
No.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
You're talking about Yalta?
Yeah, whatever it is. I didn't get that detail.
Well,
but that's the
You
point.
gotta get a little detail.
No, I'm just telling you, Brian.
That was bad.
That
was a bad story.
No, that's a
Terrible,
great
terrible.
real
That was a
story. That was some
bad
inside
story.
scoop.
Terrible
That was
story.
an inside scoop. I gave you guys the
And
inside
it was
scoop.
a thing where they all got together and they signed the thing, that thing. And then whatever that
I
sea
gave
is,
you the inside scoop,
it's the
Brian.
Baltic Sea. I don't know where the fuck it is. Sam, I need you to be a little bit more. You
So
need
basically,
to stop
they
rolling
use
your pants
clones
up.
all the time, Brian. I mean, not clones. They use body doubles all the time. All the time.
Maybe.
All right. I'll take that as a win.
But they only do that when they can get away with the kinds of prosthetics that they have now developed. They didn't have those in 1945.
yeah, but Brian, they also...
Yalta. Bring up Yalta. Can't believe I remember Yalta. It was when Stalin, Churchill, Roosevelt basically divvied up the world.
Crazy picture.
And they're all sitting down because
Because it's
Roosevelt
a
was
clone.
Roosevelt was in a wheelchair.
Because it was a body
No,
double.
they weren't able to do body
It was a
doubles.
body... What are you talking about, Brian?
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a body double
Look at
right
Stalin, the mass murderer.
Yeah.
Look at him. And Stalin and Churchill actually got along, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But Churchill was he died at 91. There was always some alcohol in his system.
Who?
Churchill, Winston Churchill.
He died in
Hilarious.
91?
He died at 91.
Oh.
And he was the great lion of Britain and an extraordinary human being.
Love it.
Extraordinary,
Anything
man.
else?
Champagne. Loved his champagne.
Who doesn't?
He would always have some whiskey. He would take baths. He
In
was
whiskey?
A towering intellect and a man who from day one said, we have to stand up to these Nazis.
I agree.
We have to fight them now or stop them now before they develop this war machine. And
Which is
Neville
crazy because the
Chamberlain-
Bank of England funded all of it. Next story.
Well,
Next story.
Yeah, it's funny because Winston Churchill didn't like Joe Kennedy because Joe Kennedy was like, I think these Nazis are pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Kennedy got in trouble, or Bush's dad, whatever his name is, got busted funding the Nazis.
You got to
Next
remember that
story.
a lot of these people didn't know that it was the Nazi
Brian,
revolution.
you're
It
nuts.
was the Germans. It wasn't the Nazis. The
Brian's
Nazi revolution.
crazy. Old Brian's new
But
Brian.
you gotta
They're
do a
both
little-
fucking
You got to do a
crazy.
little research on before we knew what Nazi meant. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Sam, I don't want to go back, but I found a picture that perfectly encapsulates not only the last thing that we were talking about, but the theme of this show. I think that this picture really, really summarizes what's going on with
Yes, thank you. That was the gods
I knew that was
saying,
gonna happen.
stop making fun of Sam and his
Why don't you
people.
hold it up and while you show it to us? Why don't you hold it up?
Yeah,
Okay.
the stand's broken and there's nothing we can do. So this picture right here,
That's so funny, bro.
it's so heavy. This picture right here is what's going on with Bryan and
Yeah.
what is also going on with Biden.
Yes,
Isn't that
yes,
fun?
yes. Hey, buddy, do I know you? Can we be friends? Hey, guys, look, it's old Bryan meeting new Bryan. Hey, old buddy. Hey, new buddy.
That's so crazy.
This is so crazy.
It's not bad, guys. It's not bad. It's good. It's good.
Okay.
It's good.
So,
I like that.
Old Bryan knew Bryan. He talked to lizard people. They said, play ball with Sam. Here we go. This is crazy. Open that. Make that.
What is that?
Statement yesterday that it is not right to connect immigration with crime is ridiculous. Not all immigrants are created equal, and an immigration policy that does not recognise this will end in disaster and tragedy. We don't record crime statistics by ethnicity, because to do so would offend liberal sensibilities, but other European countries do. The Dutch do. They've done it for 10 years, and here's what they've found. Individuals from non-Western immigration background make up 14% of the population in the Netherlands. However, they commit 40% of all crime and violent assaults.
racist?
No, truth. Just truth.
Oh, you stopped it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay.
It's just truth.
Populations from Africa or the Middle East tend to exhibit rates of 2 to 4 times higher than those of native Dutch. And in both Germany and Spain,
Look at the asshole behind her.
rate
Yeah.
of Algerian immigrants for crimes is 10 times that of natives, and in Italy it is 17 times. And Ireland has the largest groups of Algerian asylum seekers in the world being admitted into the country. Asking us not to connect crime to immigration is asking us to ignore reality. These are official statistics published by other EU governments. They are factual and true. Are they hate speech? I fear, Minister, under you and your bill, they might well be investigated as such. I have long said that this government would rather receive a pat on the back from Brussels than a clap on the back from the Irish, and that so often we need to get serious issues in this country to attract attentions from the international media before the government will do anything about them, because the government only listens to the media and not to the people. Well, now Ireland has the eyes of the world on it, and they're posed to see how this country is being turned into a post-democratic EU vassal state, which is about to pass censorship legislation, the likes of which we have never seen in the West, so that its government will be protected from the criticism of the people it is elected to govern.
Yep.
It's outrageous.
Maybe that will give them pause for thought, but I won't hold my breath.
That asshole in the back is a shithead. She's great. She's right. She's telling the truth. And,
You know what's so funny
and,
is like-
and this the same thing's going on in England. And I was just there. And you know, it is this strange self-flagellation. It's like, be proud of your country. Canada, be proud of your country. England, be proud of your country. Ireland, be proud of your country. And be proud of what got you to a place where everyone from all over the world wants to be, as opposed to their own countries, as opposed to Algeria.
Let me correct what you're saying there, Bryan, because the truth of the matter is that this giant influx is not happening naturally, and a lot of it is the result of our foreign policy of bombing the fuck out of those people, so they don't want to get out of there, so they don't.
That's also
We've
fair.
destroyed their economies, and we've destroyed their country with bombs. Listen, well, the worst thing I ever heard during the after 9/11 was like, we fight over there, so we don't have to fight over here. Guess what? We're fighting over here now, and it's a slow build. This whole story right now about they're finding fucking Chinese hotels full of Chinese government officials who are sending the Chinese into our country. It is coming, bro. I have so many of my friends who are like, oh, dude, we need to hit a reset in the government. Dog, that's not a simple, vote, bro. I'm just telling you, what is happening right now is this Bolshevik revolution is happening here in the United States, and they are just amassing freaking soldiers here quietly while nobody does anything. And the biggest part of this rant, and it's the thing I said when I was with you on Joe Rogan's and the Fight Companion, is none of this is happening naturally. It is all being astroturfed, done on purpose by your own politicians who think they're going to be insulated from the results of their actions because they have so much money and they're in the good graces. Guess what happens when Rome falls? Guess what? The first people who get their slit throats are the ones who sold out their own every time, because even the fucking powerful people don't want scumbags in their group that would sell them out to a higher bidder. And that is a fucking
We're going to
fact.
end on that. That was good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Bravo.
You might have to beep the slit throat thing.
I like that.
All right, guys, this has been Conspiracy Social Club. Deep Waters.
That was awesome. God bless.
When people ask, is everything a conspiracy? The answer is yes.
Who and what is controlling everything and why? They practice sorcery. I can't argue against magic.
I don't know what it is that we live on, but I believe it's a realm. This realm that we live in is the lowest level of heaven, highest level of hell.
Chicken snake gods and the Anunnaki and sorcery. If Sam says the chicken and snake god is running everything, I'm literally in the world of crazy. I'm winning.
You're losing.
Conspiracy Social Club, a.k.a. Deep Waters. Deep Waters.